Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you for coming in my presentation. It's great to see you all. My name is Nadyaz. In this presentation, I'm going to discuss about podcast Now They Self, the power of a reflective educator, especially kinds of awareness. Research suggests teachers should bring with them into the classroom. The purpose of this presentation is help understand five key awarenesses educators can bring into their practice as they think through what is happening in their classrooms and help us think through what are some practical ways that teachers can be aware of student needs as they are going through a class period or going through school year. My presentation is divided into three material. Firstly, I'm going to tell you about kinds of awareness. Secondly, I'm going to talk to about connection with young learn understanding of identity. And finally, I'm going to tell about conclusion of the podcast. The presentation will probably take around 10 minutes. Okay, let me begin by explaining kinds of awareness. When you say aware of yourself, do you mean in kind of aware when you're hungry? You had a bad day or there's a spot on your thigh or what kind of awareness of or you're talking about? When we think of self as a teacher, and so this is specific to you being a teacher, right? There are actually three self that we have recognized and that's a teacher has a private self and that is what is just private to you. Maybe no one other than you knows that will include your own needs. That can be income needs, emotional needs, physical needs. It will include your identity. That could be your race, ethnicity, culture or gender. And it also includes your values and your experiences, which might be why you got into teaching. What brought you there? What do you think the purpose of the role is? Yeah. Then there's the public self, and that's the recognition that you are on display as a teacher and that you can both be authentic but have a different self that's on display than who you are probably, and the really specific to teaching and kind of unique about teaching is the perceived self, and that makes a lot of sense because the teacher is only teacher because they have students, right? So the perceived self is that awareness that you are perceived by your students, by their families, by your colleges, your director, and so on. And having an awareness that those results are always a part of you and that's who's actually interacting with the students. It's what I mean by having a sense of self. Now, I would like to discuss about second material. The distinction here is that a teacher is not taught how to see themselves that way. A teacher talks typically from a kind of a training model of being selfless and putting the students at the center. So, if you put students at the center, the struggle with that is that it then asks the questions of, well then, where are you? And the reality is that you're never actually fully aware of who that student is. You only know who you believe that student to be, and that's about who you are. So I believe the student is, and that's based on who you are. Yeah, and so if we don't know who we are and we have not been taught to explore in it that way, and that's actually a very difficult obstacle. Teaching our theory of the student, and that's the best we can do as humans. But having an awareness of who we are, who's our private self, our perceived self. Having that awareness allow us to start uncovering why we see students in certain ways. And so tied within that are issues of implicit bias, right? Tied within that are why do we believe certain students can achieve and other can achieve? Why do we believe certain students are shy while other students are passionate, right? Like, uh, like, like. So I think a lot of that work that has also been embedded in how do we support students in their learning. How do we support brain development? How do we support all these various areas is still kind of missing this piece of triple M. The way in which we see students is based on we are, and if we are never taught to further explore that and pull it apart in a way that it's not negative and it's not blaming, then we are still kind of missing the mark on how to support teachers in the development. Finally, we are going to talk about three materials. I'm going to talk to you about the conclusion of the podcast. So, if you put students at the center, the struggle with that is that it then asks the question of, well, then where are you? And this is talk on the importance of recognizing we are acting a lens when we see our students, whether we like it or not. We're never teaching who the student is. We are always teaching who we believe the student is, and that's based on who we are. And finally, this idea that we will do well to remember teachers are learners too, and we might want to treat them as such. We flip that model, and we say everything we know about learning is true for students and teachers. Then it allows us to kind of use models that we have used for students before to say a quiz developed in much the same way any learner would because of humans. So let's use some of those models out of being support learners. Okay, that's bring me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.